Mob Entertainment has finally dropped the official trailer for Chapter 4 of Poppy Playtime, and there's a lot to go over. I made sure to analyze every frame, pixel, and piece of audio in this trailer to get as much info as possible for what's to come for Chapter 4. We'll be going over the new monster, the red smoke implications, the new locations, and much more. So, with that being said, let's go over the trailer together and speculate on what we see after. The trailer opens up right where we left off in Chapter 3, descending down the lift with Poppy. We can hear the screams of Kissy Missy and Poppy calling out to her just like the end of the chapter. And as we descend further, brief flashes of red lights flicker in the distance. The screen cuts to black, and we're now looking at the entrance for the elevator that we're descending down, revealing a dimly lit, eerily quiet floor. Above the door, a pipe with a large red smoke capsule embedded in it snakes along the ceiling. Stepping out of the elevator, our perspective shifts, and suddenly, it feels as though we're being watched. The screen takes on a reddish pink hue, as if we're viewing ourselves through someone else's eyes. Our character's shadow moves across the floor, leaving the elevator and walking deeper into the factory while this unseen watcher lingers. The camera cuts again, this time to a sign reading Caves 1C, accompanied by a hand scanner next to the entryway. This part of the factory feels more primal, with natural rock formations and a less refined industrial structure. As we delve further into these caves, we notice more of the red smoke capsules embedded in pipes scattered throughout. Our exploration leads us to seeing a massive pile of discarded plush toys stacked into what looks like a toy graveyard. Upon seeing this, you can quickly catch a random toy scurrying across the pile to make sure it doesn't get seen. Continuing down a narrow path, we enter a room filled with even more of the red smoke pipes lining the walls and ceiling. One of the pipes even lead to a small room dispersing red smoke, almost like a chamber to sedate someone. The camera then catches sight of a small purple plush toy crawling to the next corner of the room, but suddenly a much larger orange toy stomps down on it, crushing its head and instantly killing it. Our view shifts once again, and we see a security camera mounted on the ceiling, slowly swiveling to follow our movement. As we approach a desk in the center of the room, one of the surveillance monitors flickers to life, briefly displaying a shadowy, fluffy figure scurrying across the screen before it abruptly cuts back to static. We move closer to the desk, and the ambient hum intensifies. On the monitor behind the desk, a single purple eye stares at us. Suddenly, the purple eye shifts to an alarming red, almost like something dangerous just arrived. As we begin to turn around, the faint sound of distorted music fills the room, echoing softly as it grows louder. We're then met with the sight of a peculiar creature, a yellow-colored toy with 3 jagged teeth and rainbow hair. The creature stares at us, almost curiously, before its face splits open down the middle, revealing a spiraling maw lined with rows upon rows of teeth leading down into a fleshy throat. The screen cuts to black, and the release date for Chapter 4 appears, January 4th, 2025. Now it's time to speculate on what we actually saw. The rainbow-haired creature introduced to us at the end of the Chapter 4 trailer is unmistakably Yarnaby, a twisted creation with a sinister, almost hypnotic appearance. But Yarnaby wasn't always this monstrous entity. Originally, Yarnaby was Quinn Navidson, a young orphan taken in by Playtime Co. and subjected to their cruel Bigger Bodies initiative, ultimately becoming Experiments 1166. This experiment wasn't exactly a simple transformation. It was a methodical process of manipulation and conditioning, intended to strip Quinn of his humanity and mold him into something Playtime Co. could control. Yarnaby's design, with his cheerful, flower-like face and vibrant colors, seemed deceptively innocent. The vibrant colors likely serve a purpose, an attraction tactic designed to draw people in with a friendly, approachable appearance, only to reveal the creature's true, horrifying nature when provoked. Under the guidance of Dr. Harley Sawyer, Yarnaby was engineered with a unique loyalty to Sawyer himself, a connection fostered through isolation and psychological manipulation. Sawyer carefully crafted Yarnaby's dependence, ensuring that he had no outs to turn to, which made Sawyer the center of his world. When Sawyer was removed, however, Yarnaby was unresponsive to the staff, showing behaviors of grief and mourning. This resulted in the person observing him not knowing what to do with him and moving him up to someone else, hoping that they would know what to do. And I guess what we see in the trailer is the results of Yarnaby being left in isolation for so agonizingly long. One of the trailer's most unsettling elements is the pervasive red smoke seeping from pipes and capsules throughout the caves. The smoke isn't just atmospheric, it feels purposeful, an essential part of Playtime Co.'s darker experiments. Given what we know about the Bigger Bodies initiative, this red smoke could be a vital component in the process of transforming orphans into sentient toys. The smoke's distribution through pipes and dispersal into various areas of the factory suggests it was intended to saturate the environment, ensuring that anyone exposed would inhale its effects continuously. This could mean that the red smoke was used to soften orphans, altering their mental states or physical constitution to make them more susceptible to the experimentation process. Perhaps it was a conditioning agent meant to dull their senses, break down their cognitive resistance, or enhance certain traits that will be beneficial to transformation into toys. The concentrated areas of red smoke we see in the trailer, particularly in the room with blood-stained walls, may signify areas where the transformations were particularly aggressive or unstable, leading to violent outbursts or failed experiments. In terms of gameplay, the red smoke could serve as a hazard, forcing players to navigate carefully through areas where prolonged exposure might have negative effects. Imagine needing to hold your breath or find gas masks to traverse certain sections, adding an extra layer of strategy and urgency as you explore the deeper parts of the factory. One of the most jarring visuals in the trailer is the mountain of discarded plush toys piled up like a graveyard of failed creations. This heap of broken, lifeless toys isn't just discarded merchandise, it's likely a collection of Playtime Co.'s unsuccessful attempts at creating sentient beings. Each plush here represents an experiment gone wrong, a life that was molded, twisted, and ultimately abandoned when it didn't meet the company's standards. These toys might have been prototypes of the Bigger Bodies experiments, discarded when they exhibited flaws, instability, or simply didn't perform as expected. It's possible that many of these toys were early versions of sentient beings, attempts to bridge the gap between toy and human, but they fell short, either failing to come to life or becoming dangerously unstable. Playtime Co. likely disposed of them here, treating them as disposable byproducts in their relentless pursuit of perfection. The sight of this toy graveyard serves as a grim reminder of Playtime Co.'s ruthlessness, their willingness to discard anything or anyone that didn't serve their purpose. In Chapter 4, the Mountain of Dead Toys could be more than just a haunting backdrop. It might serve as an interactive area where players can find clues, remnants of failed experiments, or even encounter spectral remnants of past toys. It would add a layer of horror if certain toys within the pile could briefly awaken or serve as temporary obstacles, reminding players that even in death, these creations are haunted by the remnants of their twisted existence. Throughout the trailer, we notice several surveillance cameras tracking our movements, almost as if they're alive. In a place as secretive and dangerous as the Playtime Co. facility, the presence of surveillance systems is expected, but these cameras feel more intentional, as if someone or something is actively monitoring us. There are two possibilities here. Either the cameras are automated, performing routine scans to monitor the factory's inhabitants, or they're under the control of a sentient entity like the prototype. If the prototype has gained control over the cameras, it would mean that it has an extensive awareness of our movements and might even be manipulating the environment to increase our challenges. From a gameplay standpoint, these cameras could function as obstacles that players need to avoid or disable. to prevent alarms from alerting nearby threats. Imagine having to time your movements carefully, slipping past camera blind spots, or finding ways to temporarily disable surveillance systems to navigate through high security areas undetected. The shifting red eye on the monitor also suggests that these surveillance systems have an alert mode, possibly detecting intrusions or heightened activity levels, indicating when danger is near. The concept of a sentient surveillance system adds a psychological layer to the horror, as players may feel like they're being hunted even in seemingly empty rooms, with every movement monitored by an unseen entity. One of the lingering mysteries from Chapter 3 is the fate of Kissy Missy. After hearing her being attacked, we're left uncertain of her condition or whether she's even alive. Kissy Missy is stood out as one of the more complex toys in the Playtime Co. facility, showing signs of autonomy and even empathy, as evidenced by her helping the player in Chapter 2. If Kissy Missy is survived, she could become a valuable ally in Chapter 4, potentially guiding the player through the more treacherous parts of the facility. However, given the nature of Playtime Co. and the prototype's influence, it's also possible that she's been captured or reprogrammed, turning her into an unwilling adversary. In that scenario, the player might have to rescue or even reawaken Kissy Missy, breaking whatever control the prototype has over her. This would add an emotional aspect to the gameplay, as players grapple with the potential loss or salvation of a beloved character. Alternatively, if Kissy Missy is dead, her absence could serve as a tragic reminder of the facility's brutality, reinforcing the message that any ally we encounter is vulnerable and will be killed. As Chapter 4 draws nearer, all signs point to a climactic confrontation with the prototype. The red smoke pipes scattered throughout the facility represent one of the most ominous features in the Chapter 4 trailer. The factory's use of this smoke feels like it's been a crucial part of the Bigger Bodies initiative, possibly used to mutate and condition orphans before transforming them into monstrous toys. The eye on the monitor shifting from calm to red suggests a surveillance system that's far more complex than we've encountered before. In Chapter 4, these monitors could be one of the main ways the prototype observes and controls its surroundings. With the eye flickering from purple to red, players are alerted to a shift in danger, indicating that something in the environment has changed and that we may be about to encounter new threats. The eye's reaction to our presence means that players will need to pay close attention to these monitors as they navigate the factory. Seeing the eye turn red might signal nearby toys on high alert, potentially forcing the player to hide or avoid being detected. If the prototype is indeed watching through this system, it could mean that it's able to set traps or lure players into dangerous areas based on what the monitors detect. This mechanic adds a new layer of gameplay where players need to stay vigilant for any change in the eye's color. One wrong step could mean altering the prototype or triggering a series of attacks from nearby toys, making the area extremely difficult to go through. The movement of this one camera suggests that someone or something is observing the player's every move. If these cameras are automated, then they might simply serve as parts of Playtime Co.'s abandoned security system, keeping watch over the factory even in its current state. However, if the prototype is in control, then these cameras could be more than just passive observers. They're tools for hunting and tracking us. Imagine exploring a room only for a camera to swivel in our direction, locking onto our position and possibly triggering a chase sequence. If the cameras are indeed controlled by the prototype, this gives it an almost omniscient-like presence in the factory, a relentless force that sees everything, knows everything, and uses every available tool to thwart our escape. The prototype's control over the cameras would also mean that players might have to disable or hack the security systems to advance, introducing a stealth-based mechanic where moving unseen becomes essential. But what do you guys think? Make sure to let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.